Welcome to Spiritual Ambition, where we tune in to awaken our divine nature and explore the provocative inner force compelling us toward our fullest potential. If you've achieved external success but feel a deeper calling, if you're tired of dimming your light to fit in, and you know there's a more powerful way to live and lead and love, you're in the right place. Host Donna Bond is a best-selling author, modern-day high priestess, and catalyst for personal transformation. Together, we're birthing a new paradigm of loving leadership, integrating our humanity with divine wisdom as our individual awakening serves collective evolution. Here's your host of Spiritual Ambition, Donna Bond.
Hello, everyone. Welcome in, welcome back. Welcome if you're here for the first time. Thank you so much for tuning in and for being with us today. This is your opportunity to give yourself a time out and a tune in. And we have a very, very special guest today who will be joining us on Spiritual Ambition. What we're calling our show today is Calling All Parts Home, the sacred art of self-integration and radical self-love. And we have the beautiful, luminous Suri Sawyer, who will be engaging with us in a discussion about archetypes. What are even archetypes? What do we do with them? Why do we need them in our life? And how are they helpful to calling all of our parts home? So if you're ready to stop rejecting the parts of yourself that you have deemed unacceptable, and you want some strategies and tools on how to embrace the fullness of who you are, all the parts, not just the pretty, perfect, shiny, presentable parts, but even the messy, sloppy, disjointed, bulky, cumbersome, not so pretty parts. If you want to get your arms around all of those parts, you definitely want to be part of the conversation that we're going to have today, because it's these discarded, exiled parts that are on the edge of our psyche that hold so much of our power and so much of our wisdom. And when we can call them back home to ourselves, then we fully integrate into our wholeness. And that's what it's all about, people. So actually, you know what? Let's bring Suri in right now, and then we're going to call in the light all together. Hello, welcome.
Good day. What an honor to be here. Thank you for having me.
Do you remember when we used to sit in the hot tub and we would pretend that we had our own show?
Yes, because the conversations were so transformative and riveting. We were like, people need to hear us speak about life.
How many years ago was that?
Well, I think we started our journey together almost 11 years ago. And so that must have been, I know, it's wild. I was looking at old photos today. That must have been maybe 5 years ago that we sat in the jacuzzi and daydreamed about having our own show, and then revisited it a couple years later.
And now you have your own show, and I have my own show. But maybe the universe is getting us together.
Oh, in 1,000 ways that we have yet to meet and know what they look like and how they'll form. And I'm excited about it. I can feel the gravity and all of the matter gathering around it.
I love that, the effervescence. Well, you are a walking transmission, a guide, a teacher. You have this gorgeous bio that I'm going to share with everyone and talk a little bit about your extraordinary gifts. But first, the first thing that we do here on Spiritual Ambition is we close our eyes. Unless, of course, you're driving, you don't want to do that. But everybody, let's uncross our legs for a moment. Let's just put our feet on the floor and just rest our hands in our lap, and slow down for just a moment. And take a nice deep inhalation. And just letting go, dropping off anything that no longer serves us, letting go of anything we no longer need. And in this moment, we call ourselves forward. We call forward the power and the presence of our higher self, of our inner knowing. And we ask to be cleared, filled, surrounded, and protected with the clear white light of living love. We ask that any karma, negativity, imbalance, any distortion, misalignment, misunderstanding, misinterpretation of reality, any energy or vibrational frequency that is vibrating at anything less than the frequency of divine loving that may be residing anywhere in our consciousness, in mine or Suri's or anyone who's watching us live or catching the recording later. We ask that anything with a resonant frequency less than divine loving be lifted and transmuted at this time, carried, taken to the highest realms of light and sound, and dispersed back into the nothingness. Into this space, we recognize grace, light, peace, love, joy, upliftment, sovereignty, authentic power, and presence. We acknowledge and welcome only those divine beings of light who love us unconditionally, who work for the divine plan, and who work for the light. We welcome only your presence here with us today. We ask for your support and assistance in bringing forward healing, revelation, and wisdom of the heart that will resonate most profoundly with each individual here for their highest good and the highest good of all concerned. We are so grateful for the opportunity to come together and do this work, to join our hearts and be together. For this and more, we say thank you. So be it. Yeah, so much energy moving, so much power. It's so lovely to be with you. Thank you so much for being here.
It's wonderful to be here with you also.
I'm going to read your bio and then we're going to send some light around the globe, because this is also one of the things that we do here in Spiritual Ambition is we have our sacred circle of light, and we bring our hearts together and send out our intention for healing and upliftment. But Suri Sawyer, a walking transmission, equal parts cosmic mirror, soul whisperer, multidimensional midwife. She embodies the energy of a lucid dream, which is so true. Soft, yet activating, grounded, yet infinite. When she speaks, it's less conversational and more about invitation, introspection, remembrance, and sacred disruption. Whew, sacred disruption. I want everybody to just think about that. What does sacred disruption mean to you in your life? Yeah, just sitting with that. With the heart of a healer and the mind of a mystic, Suri weaves shadow and light without fear. Her essence feels like plant medicine incarnate, holding space with the same reverence as a jungle ceremony, minus the brew. Just her presence initiates recalibration. I want everyone to just tune into the truth of all of those words. And that's like, it's something that we can feel in our vibration, in our frequency, the truth of the words that we say, that we speak. We can notice when we bring our attention to it, what might feel alive and aligned and real and active and activating, and what might feel discordant. And I've had the unique privilege of watching and witnessing and loving this one for a long time, many lifetimes, many, many, many lifetimes. Oh. And I am just so grateful that you have made the walk that you have made in your journey, in your life, so that you are now just an incredible guide for others. And that comes through doing our own work. And you have embodied the work.
Thank you for seeing me, Donna. It's an honor to be witnessed by you for such a long time. All the different chapters up to this point.
Oh my God, there's been so many chapters. I mean, we could fill up the whole show with the chapters. And we're going to talk about archetypes. But first, let's just hold our intention and our hearts. And we're going to send light. If there is anyone that you would like to send light to on a regular basis, you can go to spiritualambitionsacredlight.com and you can submit their name, or you can drop it in the chat right now. We do have a couple of people already that we would like to send the light out to. Frank and Mallory, special wishes sending out to you on this most special day. We're sending the light also to Tommy, David, Nicole, Stuart, Ron, Celia, Don, and Bob. And Suri, I don't know if there's anybody that you would like to speak their name into the space to also be included.
Mike, Sean, Pamela, Carrie, and Harold.
All right. And so we just take a moment, and everyone in this community and everyone who is watching this show, either live or catching the replay, in this moment, we send that light up ahead for wishes of upliftment and well-being, for healing, grace, and loving. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Let's talk archetypes. So fun. Okay.
I'm gonna take what would be the back seat. I'm gonna follow your lead.
Okay. What's an archetype?
What's an archetype? So the concept of an archetype is based in the idea that we share one giant collective consciousness. And within this consciousness, there are blueprints of personality and experience, qualities of character, motivations, desires, core woundings. And the theory is that because we all belong to this one giant collective, we have the potential of expressing all of the different archetypes. In Carl Jung's earlier work, he has 12, but the 12 have light and shadow sides, and then also deviations or specialized, like, you're the magician, but you're the dark magician, right? So from the 12, it becomes 24. From that 24, you have offshoots. So really, there's hundreds of archetypes, but you can look at them in 12 to 13 basic archetypes. And it ranges from the innocent to the warrior to the king or queen. And we have them all within us all the time. And we will put certain archetypes on very strongly in our lives. For example, I wear the innocent archetype very strongly, the caretaker archetype very strongly, and the mystic very strongly. Those are my primary archetypes that I swim in. And that's what you see a lot of when you gaze my persona from an external perspective. But inside of me, there's many people on my bus. And the art of knowing or understanding that all these archetypes exist within you and outside of you is to be able to identify when the different parts are having very different ideas about how to proceed, what reality is, how to interact with a moment. And so let's say that I'm one bus, Miss Frizzle over here, the magic school bus, but there's 27 people on my bus that are fighting for the driver's seat at any given moment. Especially when I'm experiencing internal conflict, more of my personas are trying to get into the driver's seat because they all think they know best. And this is where internal conflict often comes from. The part of us that is like, I know that I want to be healthy and I want to eat well. And that part might be your internal mother, your internal caretaker. But then you have the internal rebel who's like, screw it, let's have nachos every day. Right. And then one is like, let's eat healthy. Let's eat nachos. Let's eat healthy. Let's eat nachos. This is a very small example, but it's also a very real one for me. But that can create mild inner conflict. Now imagine that being applied to something much bigger. Like, where should I live? Is this a good relationship for me? Is this the career that I should follow? 15 different versions of you being like, this is why it's good. This is why it's bad. This is why we should take it. This is why we shouldn't take it. And so if you can become aware that it's okay, normal, common, happening to you all the time, that there's different urges, desires, motivations, and desire for outcome, you can bring all the archetypes together inside of you in a little council meeting and be like, okay, guys, we have one bus, we have one vessel. We're going to make one choice, but we're all going to do it together instead of having this internal conflict take place inside. Let's go to the council. Let's go to the front porch. That's where my council takes place.
So let me check in with you and we'll slow it down a click because you and I together, it's like, there's like fire. There's like all this energy going. So what I hear you sharing is that all of us have these multiple different aspects of our personality. And they're all on a great big bus and they're all trying to get behind the wheel of the car. And that can be a shit show, right? Like if everybody's duking it out to try to get behind the wheel of the car. But what I hear you saying is when we can bring everybody into cooperation, or when we can bring everybody into harmony, then it might be more productive for our life to be able to move forward in a direction that we want to go in if everybody is on board. Okay, so here's my question. Who gets to drive?
Wonderful question. I think each person gets to decide for themselves who the best driver, I guess, is. And in myself, there's this woman archetype within me, and she's old and she's so wise. And for whatever reason, in my mind's eye, when I go to my council, she's this elderly Black woman in a rocking chair, and all the other ones sit at her feet and they listen to whatever she says. And she doesn't say very much, but I wait until when in decision making, especially when there's a lot of internal conflict, she's usually the one that will like launch final decisions and settle disputes between parts of me as well. She's got the sage down. She's my inner sage.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say, like, what is the name of that archetype?
Yeah, my inner sage. It seems like she already has lived my whole life. And she doesn't tell me very much information because she's like, you need to go through all of it. But this is like, at the end, this is the sum of the knowledge. And I'll just patiently wait to disseminate it as you ask.
Yeah, you're lucky to have her, huh?
I am very lucky to have her.
So our show today, we called it calling all parts home. So can you share a little bit with us about what does that even mean? And then the even bigger piece, how do we do it? And I want to just give you a little latitude. If, if you want to mirror any of this one's archetypal business, go for it. Because I was thinking of an archetype that I definitely have, who sometimes can be, a little in charge. She can be in charge. Mother Superior, we call her. Yeah, our
Okay,
friend
that's her
Thea.
name. I like Mother Superior. It makes me feel safe to be in a room with somebody who knows what they're doing and what they want. That's always something I've admired about you, is the vision that you have. And you're like, attention to detail, also like the details being part of this bigger thing that you see, and knowing exactly what you want, when you want it, how you want it. It's what I've witnessed in you creates you to be such a powerful manifester. And that's something I don't have as strongly. So when I watch you, I'm like, how does she know exactly what she wants almost all the time?
Well, but then there's the shadow side of Mother Superior, right? Just like you're saying, for all of these aspects. And I think that that's something that's so important that we recognize, right? Is that they're like all on a continuum, and they are a polarity, and we have the positive and the negative, but that does not translate into good or bad.
Absolutely.
I'll shut up. Say more.
So I
get so excited. This is one of my favorite topics.
So I wanted to start with what it means to gather the pieces of us and bring them all home. And I'd like to talk about this by talking about the archetype that is often called the orphan archetype. So typically the orphan starts out as the innocent. It's naive. It believes that the world is good. It has hope. It believes that people are good. It believes that it will always turn out for the best, always, always. Something happens at some point and there's a sensation of betrayal or abandonment, and it crushes the innocent. And for most of us, it happens at a very, very early age. And it doesn't need to be literal abandonment of a parent, although it often is. It can also just be, for example, I was reflecting recently on the first time I realized that my mom lied. I couldn't believe it. I was devastated. We were driving home from school and I asked her for something, don't remember what it was at all. And just to placate me, she said yes. And then we're driving in the car, and about 5 minutes later, my sister goes, that's not going to happen, right? And I was like, no, but mom said. And then my sister was like, yeah, but mom lies all the time. And I was like, no, she doesn't. But then all of a sudden my mind started to formulate around this reality, and it crushed me, and I felt betrayed and abandoned. I'm an adult now. Of course my mom lies. And that feeling inside of this person that I had on a pedestal coming down made me feel isolated and alone. That's a small example, but that's enough to create orphan type feelings. And the orphan is usually categorized with things like feeling victimized, feeling betrayed, feeling helpless, feeling like the world is happening to them, feeling like they can't get enough help, feeling just this deep in a hole. And they become super independent, incredibly strong. And I can, since no one's going to help me, the second that they start to shift out of victim mentality, they go into hyper independence, which can become a gift. But we've also experienced hyper independence being something that really limits true, genuine vulnerability and closeness, right?
Yeah.
And so as we're going through our healing journey, and especially the more we get into this spiritual world, there's a lot of conversation about leave your victim mentality behind, leave your victim mentality behind, come step into your authority. And sometimes what that actually does is has us discard the part that feels victimized, because we now think that it's bad to feel that or think that. And we can even deceive ourselves in such great denial practices, I call it psychic acrobatics, that we can convince ourselves that we no longer have we no longer have any victim tendencies. But I still have yet to meet one who doesn't really have any. anymore, right? It's something that I think are layers of onions that we'll discover more layers as we go.
I think it's safe to say that if you don't have any, you're probably not in a body.
Oh, being human, it's so raw.
It's so raw. Bless us. Bless all of us.
Bless us all.
Yeah. But I think that also can thread through a little bit of, I don't know if relaxation is the right word, but like just the knowing that everyone has all of these parts.
Yeah. And to be able to honor them. Oh, the part of you that feels like the world is happening to you and life is happening to you and it's not being fair. I hear you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the game we play when we attempt to take a shadow aspect of us, for example, what is it? Not Mother Teresa. Remind me her name. Mother Superior. Like the shadow aspects of Mother Superior, right? Like, okay, so Mother Superior knows what she wants and she's a great manifester. Sometimes she can grip. And so the part that grips, if you don't want to identify with it, you push it away, not wanting to acknowledge it as part of you. And what happens is, like you were saying at the beginning of the episode, we push it to the edge of our psyche, we push it to the edge of our field, and we're basically inviting other people to come in and either play that role for us really strong and loud so we can't ignore it, or we're asking for people to come in that will force us into the position where we're acting out that control and authority. And that'll keep happening because it's like putting a sign at the edge of your aura that says, hey, this piece of me that I think is really shadowy, I'm just going to set it right here. And like anybody who wants to come in and play the role for me so that I can like fully get over this, like come on in. And it's painful, especially when we're not having the awareness that that's something that is occurring, like an energetic sign on your field. Now, as we're witnessing a shadow aspect of us, or we can't even see it because we've hidden it from ourselves so well, there's many practices to do, and we can go into that in a moment. But the idea here is to, as painful as it can be, as much shame as it can bring up, as much guilt as it can bring up, become the warrior of your soul and have the courage to face the parts of us that sometimes are regrettable and bring them from the edge of your field back home to the heart. From my perspective, the heart is like the void. It's the place where everything and nothing exists. It's the place where everything meets. It's the place where all of you resides all at once. So if there is a part that you've rejected or dejected from the center core, bring her back in, put her in the heart, let her emerge with the totality of you. It's not comfortable living on the edge of your field. Bring it home and inside. And then this running away from it also stops. People stop coming in and playing that role for you because it's no longer needed.
Yes. Yes. I just love this. And this radical acceptance is really what is being asked for. And one of the positives, I think, about working with archetypes is it's a way that we can depersonalize it a little bit in that, right? Here's this universal pattern that I'm not the only person on the planet who shares the characteristics of Mother Superior, right? And Mother Superior in her dark side, right? She's holier than thou. And she thinks she knows it all. And she's going to make order out of chaos. But what I realized about working with her, and this is why, and this was actually one of my questions to you, like, well, why do we even want to do this work? Like, why do we want to get into these archetypes? Why do we want to even understand these different aspects of our psyche? But it's because the more awareness we have, and I would love to hear your take on this too, the more awareness we can bring to these aspects, the more that they can chill the fuck out, right? They're not like trying to get the wheel,
Yes. Well, our archetypes, especially when they get ignored, they become like toddlers. And tantrums like typically don't get quieter over time. In fact, when you ignore a child, what they learn to do is become more manipulative to get your attention. And your archetypes are very similar. Anything that whatever you resist persists. So to become aware of the different archetypes within us is to give the different aspects of us an authentic voice, right? And to be able to really hear them when they're having an excitement or a struggle, and also be able to say, oh, I really hear that. And with all the honor and care. Okay, so here's an example. I have a lot of anger. Sometimes I go into like boom, like fire dragon. And the things that go on in my mind, I'm like, I'm gonna slash their tires. I'm going to prank call him every day for the next 10 years. Like I watch this voice in my head come up with, oh, juicy. And in the moment, I could feel how good it might feel to retaliate, right? I'm like, oh, yeah, instant relief. I could just say this to their face, you know? And I listen to her. She's like my sacred rage. My boundaries have been crossed. And when she comes up, I'm like, I better pull up a soapbox and listen to what she has to say. It might be
Right.
irrational. So we're not going to make decisions out of it, but we do need to hear her. And so I'll let her run 1,000 miles with all the ideas until she's tired. And then the rest of the council gathers around and is like, wow, yeah, like that. Ouch, mama. And then we say, okay, so those things that you came up with would detrimentally affect our lives and ultimately lead to more of this energy. So do you agree that those ideas aren't the right course of action? And even my sacred rage is like, I know, guys. Thanks for this. And then the council is like, so what do we actually want to do?
Yeah. Well, I think it's so critical for all of our parts to feel heard and seen. And, I know after thousands of hours of coaching, at the end of the day, that's what we all want. That's what everybody wants. That's what everybody needs, is to be deeply heard and seen and witnessed. And so when we can begin to formulate this relationship inside of ourself with ourself, then it's like we're bringing in that harmony. I also, let's talk about Mother Superior again. This is my shout out to Theo, because Theo, our friend Theo, named me this aspect of me. Actually, I think when you and I might have been going through some drama.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
During that time, I was the fool.
Oh.
I'm still playing the fool, but yes, I was strongly the fool in the Mother Superior area. Okay, take it away.
Well, what I recognized about her, and I've had to get really intimate with her, and this is the thing, and I want you to speak to this because this is such an important part of this. All of these aspects, these exiled parts of ourselves that we determined were unacceptable for whatever reason, they were all born or developed out of some survival mechanism.
Yes.
And Mother Superior started from a very young age. I mean, if my sisters were here, they would tell you, right? But she was demonstrating leadership. She really was trying to keep everybody safe and protected, out of harm's way from a unpredictable and chaotic world where she had parents who were 20. Wait, what?
It does seem crazy. I
So,
understand how Mother Superior was developed, like kids raising kids, right? Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And I mean, bless her.
We love you, Betty.
Yeah. And I mean, but bless Mother Superior,
Awesome.
right? Who was this toddler trying to take care of her sisters, the environment. I remember we moved when I was 4. And so if I was 4, my sister Mara was 2, and my youngest sister wasn't even born yet. And you know what it's like to move.
Mhm.
Holy chaos, right? There's distraction and people are everywhere. And I mean, that's just like one small example. So share with us a little bit more color around not only how these parts get exiled, but how do you bring them back in?
Thank you for sharing so openly and vulnerably, Donna. I appreciate the sentiment and gaze of looking at each of these archetypes become stronger and more pronounced and more practiced because of survival and realizing that you need to develop certain skills because of conditioning, family, school. These skills will get me liked. These traits will keep me safe. These traits will help me succeed, depending on what kind of pressures or socialization that you're receiving. So they're adaptations of survival. There's the idea that the ego itself is a survival mechanism that keeps us together here on the earth plane, and also it allows us to have interactions in a way that feels safe to us. From my perspective, our psyche, we're kind of like crabs. I think we could think of this like crabs a little bit, that the persona is sort of like the hard shell because the tenderness of what's inside our soul like is not for everyone. It's not for everyone to touch, it's not for everyone to see, it's not for everyone to interact with. So in certain situations I watch myself boom, mask up because I'm like, "Oh, this it's not safe to walk into the grocery store and put my whole heart out there like that. So I'm going to put on, a Suri costume to go have this interaction." And recognizing when I'm masking more and when I can take my masks off, that's also a really good gauge for me about how safe I'm feeling at any given moment. So the development of the qualities that we take on are to keep us safe and to help us succeed in life. And ways that are, do you want to share anything before I proceed?
No, but I just, I want to invite in our audience a little bit and just like say hello to Charlene and Evelyn, Jennifer Rose. Hello. Thank you for being here. Claire, Kirsch, Andrea, KB. Hello. If you were to give everyone a question for contemplation that could lead them to a deeper integration with maybe one of their archetypal aspects, what might
Yeah.
that be?
Become curious about the schools of thought or the channels of thought that you have any given moment of the day. As you listen to your own internal dialogue, you're going to start to notice that there's very different languaging and feelings that are going on, and they are like clustered together. So, my question would be, what states of being do you go to most in a day? How many different states of being do you visit in a day? And what is it like to listen to the thoughts that come with each state of being? This is one of the windows into discovering the different characters at play within you.
I mean, you should create a worksheet to help us do that. Because like, honestly, I, help people through this all day, every day.
Mm-hmm.
And even in my own process, I've gotten much, much, much better at catching, I have somebody that I call Tanya the Tyrant. And right, like, she is wicked. She is so mean, and she's not mean to anybody outside of me. Maybe she is indirectly, right? But she is mean. She is a mean, mean mother in here. She is the source of like what I would term as inner brutality. And I can remember when I first started going through my master's program and like kind of being in the second or third year of my master's program where we're really dialing up the awareness around all this kind of stuff. And then, we start judging ourselves when we're on the spiritual path, like, oh, I should be more enlightened by now, or I shouldn't have reactionary behavior that comes up with my spouse or the people that I love, right? We start telling ourselves all these stories that we have this misunderstanding that being spiritual means you can't be human. So I just want to shatter that for everybody out there who's watching, right? Because the longer I'm on the spiritual path, the more I know it is about loving my humanness.
Right.
But I know I'm going on a long rant, as I always do. I don't even know how I would begin to keep track of all the many archetypes that are vying for the wheel of the bus.
Right. And it is, for me, it was a long practice. Something that I'd like to share is actually, Donna, you shared this with me many years ago. From the time I was 15 or 16, I would do this with myself. I knew there were multiple parts inside. I knew they were having conversations. I knew they weren't getting along. I knew this one wanted this and that one wanted that. And so from the 15, 16, in my mind's eye, there was this porch that overlooks the universe and galaxies and things, and my different parts are there. And I would go there and like gather them and literally observe myself have conversations between these different parts of me. It was like a movie, I'm like, okay, you two need to sit down and have a conversation. And even me as the observer, it's all me doing it, and it's also me observing it, but I would learn things. I'd be like, oh, I didn't know I was that mad. Oh, thanks for letting us know. Or, oh, I didn't know that was such a big desire that you had. That was a secret desire. Thanks for telling us that we even had that desire. I didn't know. But amazing things can be revealed if you let the internal dialogue play itself out. And you were sharing a book with me. I believe it was about family constellations or something. And you were talking about gathering all the parts and having them come and sit down and doing like a little council of your own selves inside. And that was the first time that I knew I wasn't crazy. I was like, wait a second, that's in a book? Other people do this too? Okay.
Amazing. I'm already, gosh, it's like being in a vortex. We get into like space and I'm just like seeing the time already. And I want to talk about the celebration of love's alchemy. And I want to invite you to share a little bit about the sacred wave. But my last question for you, Suri, how do we handle the rogue archetype? Like, how do we handle and deal with, an archetype that is embodying that victim consciousness, that she's like, fuck it, man. I am staying in bed. I'm putting the covers over my head. I don't care about life or relationship or making a contribution. Like, how do we, yeah.
I feel like we know intuitively, and there's different antidotes that I use with myself and other people, depending on the circumstance. Sometimes it is appropriate to say, okay, we're going to climb in bed at 4 p.m. today, and we're not going to get out until tomorrow. Like you get this one. We're going to listen to you and honor you, and we're going to rest. We're just going to cry, and we're going to let that feeling, we're not going to contract around it. We're not going to make you work through it. We're not going to make you go do a workbook. Like you just get this one. Sometimes that part of us needs to be honored and really heard, like we talked about, which can be really hard to do because in part of what we discard when we're discarding aspects of us, it is the part that's tired and wants to rest and wants to be done with life. But then we also have this other part that's innocent and eternally optimistic. And they're like, no, I'm not sad or depressed. Like, keep going. And it's like, no, lay down, take a nap, go to bed early tonight. It's okay. And there's also a time when we need to muster up our own inner authority. And with that part of me, for example, it took me a few years, but I was working very diligently on my own internal mother. And like you were talking about Tanya the tyrant, how she's very abusive inside. A lot of us have abusive internal systems. And as I was working on being like, okay, like I know you really don't want to do the dishes right now. And when you look at the dishes, it feels so overwhelming. And here's the thing. If you leave them there, the overwhelm will only increase. And you can't really enjoy the rest of your day because you'll constantly be thinking about how you have to come back to the kitchen. So ultimately, is it better to just do it now? And okay, you're right. It is better to just do it now. So I've been working on developing that internal dialogue of lovingly encouraging those rogue parts of me to come forward and supporting myself to understand that by doing so, I'm throwing myself an assist, right? So like if you and I can do this right now, 2 hours from us now is going to be thriving. Who's coming with me? And oftentimes getting all of the characters on the bus in the total agreement that every decision made, every conflict that we resolve is for the best and highest good for me and the next step I take on my path. All parts working together within me, the innocent, the orphan, the warrior, the healer, the hero, the royal, the mystic, all of them working together so that this vessel, this bus, can arrive at its destination well and healthy.
Yeah. And its destination is its contribution to humanity, right? It's like you're part of the puzzle, and the puzzle can't be put together without all of you. Mm-hmm. And what I really hear you saying, like over and over, is loving and like bringing that love to all of these parts and lovingly relating to these parts. And, you know, even just the metaphor of bringing them into our heart is like we're bringing that love. Yeah. And that's really what integrates and folds that into our wholeness. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so beautiful. So beautiful. So one of the things that we do each episode on spiritual ambition is something that I call the celebration of love's alchemy. And it's just what we're talking about, right? It's like when we bring our love to something, then when we bring our love to something, we dissolve the pain, we dissolve the discomfort, we melt away anything that's no longer needed. And so I know people are always afraid of shadow work, and with all of our archetypal aspects, as we spoke about, they have this polarity. So they have the light aspect and they have the shadow aspect. And what would you say? And I don't mean to put you on the spot and I have a list of answers, but I know like that you just know this stuff inherently. What are some positive things about our shadows?
Thank you for asking. The shadow aspects of us, I feel like, are the most fertile soil. When we think of soil, in its health and what's going to really allow plants to grow up out of it, it's dark and it's rich and it's thick. And I perceive our shadow to be very much like that. It's generally the spaces from within us where our most fertile fruit can come from. And that does take work and alchemy, like we're saying. I perceive that another aspect of the shadow is that it is also where some of our greatest gifts are hiding, because sometimes our greatest fear is that we're actually amazing, right? And so we even push our amazingness into the shadow. So in order to go find it, you got to turn and face it. Another incredible thing about the shadow is that if it's my desire to be whole, I must also hold my shadow. My wholeness is everything. It's that beautiful yin yang. And if I fear my shadow, I'm splitting myself in half to some degree. When I turn toward, learn to love, accept, and witness my shadow, I'm creating an opportunity for incredible wholeness. I also perceive that I love the quote, it's Alan Watts, if we don't know how awful we're capable of being, then we don't actually know how good we're capable of being. If we resist turning toward our shadow sides, are the parts that feel shame, the parts that feel guilt, the parts that feel rude, mean, terrible, all of those parts of us, they still live in you, whether you want to acknowledge them or not. But if you ignore them, then you're only being good out of a sort of ignorance. But when you realize, oh, I am capable of being nasty, I am capable of being horrible, I am capable of being unkind, I am capable of being closed-hearted, I'm capable of all those things, and I know it. Thank God I know it, because I actually have a choice now on how I will use my will.
Yes. What is your guidance to someone who is fearful of doing some of this work? Because it is not for the faint of heart. We know that. It requires deep safety, an experienced practitioner. What would you say to someone who knows that they need to do this, but is just maybe paralyzed with the fear?
Mm-hmm. Ignorance is bliss to a degree, right? Ignorance is bliss, which is why I think a lot of times people avoid shadow work, because if I just don't know, I'm super happy. And this is something I've encountered many times on my own journey, and I'm sure that you have too. I wish I could go back to being ignorant again to some degree, because all of this, it's a lot. And with that, I'd like to compare it to instant gratification versus the kind of gratification that we get by doing something over time and seeing results. So instant gratification is rotting our minds to a degree. It's also robbing us of really incredible talents that we could be cultivating, because we're so accustomed now to this instant gratification. Press a button and I get what I want. Order this and I get what I want. Call this person and I immediately get their attention. I get what I want. It's always, that instant gratification. But there's a different sort of gratification that comes when you say, I'm going to, like you, Donna, I'm going to build a business from nothing. And it was day by day, step by step, journey by journey, right? It was this, you've done it several times, but the place that you sit in now could only be achieved through consistency over time to get these results. And it's a totally different kind of fulfillment. So although the shadow work can be challenging and frightening and sometimes bring you to your goddamn
knees,
it is a much higher pleasure than remaining in ignorance.
Yes. Oh, such truth. Such truth. And each time we integrate one of those aspects, we create the space for our lights to shine even more brightly, even more luminous, even more beautifully. So I know you have an event coming up that you want to share a little bit about called the Sacred Wave. Tell us everything. Tell us how we can sign up.
Thank you so much, Donna, for giving me the opportunity. So the Sacred Wave is a 9-week container, and I've combined two of my favorite things. So in this container, there's room for 8 people, and I'm basing this off of Lynn McTaggart's book called The Power of 8, where she does all these incredible science experiments around what we're capable of with our mind and intention, and what we're capable of with collective intention. And she found that there's this magical tipping point when you get 8 people together, focused together, and the healing throughout the quantum field is incredible. You can read the book for more information, but she talks about cancer being healed, people having miraculous healing from grief, from loss, by getting together 8 people, and essentially each person focusing on one as the receiver and just sending positive, loving, healing energy in their direction. So every Wednesday, we're going to meet as a collective. One participant is going to be the receiver, while the rest of us are giving the energy. Now, what's cool is we never heal in isolation. So even the weeks in which you are not the receiver, just by giving, you'll still be receiving. The other part of the container, I know. The other part of the container is that for the entire 9 weeks, I'm inviting everyone to practice with me the Kritan Kriya. That's Kundalini exercises. So the Kritan Kriya says, Satanama, Satanama. And what you're doing is you're hitting the roof of your mouth in a consecutive rhythm, starting at the front and going backward, and then vibrating the whole roof of your mouth. If you want to try it with me really quick, like sa, and then ta, na, ma. So you're striking all the nerve endings at the roof of your mouth in a different rhythmic pattern while you're doing this with your fingers. Sa, ta, na, ma. And you have all these nerve endings in your fingers. How these monks figured this out so many years ago, I'm living to know. But as you're striking these, your fingers, I do know. As you're striking your fingers, you're hitting the nerve endings also in a rhythm. You're striking the roof of your mouth in a rhythm. This is stimulating all the energy channels, your literal blood vessels. It's creating neuroplasticity in the brain. And this particular meditation has been proven to lengthen your telomeres. Anyone who wants to do some de-aging with me, meet me here at the Sacred Wave. It's also being studied right now for addiction and helping people to release addictions, whatever your addictions might be, if it's the phone, if it's, TV, if it's whatever, social situations, whatever addiction might be. This is like an addiction eradicator. It brings your focus into the center of your being. You do it, you sing it out loud, whisper silently in your head, whisper out loud. So you're singing it in every form of your consciousness. When you speak it or sing it out loud, it's this consciousness. When you whisper, you're speaking to your subconscious. When you just think, you're speaking through the superconscious. Your breath also changes as you do this. So the invitation is we're all going to do this every day for 9 weeks. And we're going to write notes and do experiments as we're going through to see exactly what our results are. The container includes daily check-ins. That's a really big part of it, is we're all going through it together. So we'll be keeping tabs on each other, making sure that we're getting through the process and getting our daily meditations in. Once a week, I'm going to send out some education about healing around what Kundalini is, around the power of your voice, around the power of breathing, because the meditation is also a breath exercise. What doesn't this Kriya do? Oh my God. So that is what it is. It's an experiment of consciousness that I am inviting 8 people to do with me for personal healing as well as collective healing. We start September 3rd at 5 p.m. Pacific time. So that's a Wednesday, and we'll meet every Wednesday for 9 weeks. And you can sign up at womanbealive.com.
Alive, womanbealive.com/sacred wave. Suri Sawyer, thank you so much for being here. I love you. I love the work that you're doing in the world, and the planet is better off because you're on it. We're going to close our sacred space together right now, everyone. We just send the light up ahead to all of our disowned aspects, letting them know that it's safe to come home. We are now closing all energetic lines of communication between any of us, closing all open portals, gateways, channels, agreements, and lines of communication between any of us and the spirit world. We are ending this transmission in love, with love, by love, for love, as love. You're watching Spiritual Ambition. I'm Donna Bond. Thank you for being with us. Thank you, Suri.
Thank you so much.